Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We are here for another LinkedIn Live. And today we're talking thought leadership. Specifically, we're talking about thought leadership for CEOs that converts, taking you from being visible to growing, taking you from not just being credible, but leading the engine of your business. And we've talked over the last couple of weeks, Mary and I here, we're going to introduce ourselves in a minute. We've talked over the last couple of weeks of really understanding how as a CEO, we can sometimes be the bottleneck. We're the visible one, but we're a visibility bottleneck. We're the strategic one, but we're a strategic bottleneck. We're an execution bottleneck. Today, we are hoping that you've done some of the work to free yourself up so we can now get into what you actually need to be doing. That's today's stuff. So before we dive on in though, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Toni Collis. I'm an executive coach for women in tech. It is my joy. It is my passion. I'm here to make the world a better place through every single woman in tech. And of course, that includes women in tech CEOs. But I know we've got more than just women in tech CEOs here today, which is one of the reasons I'm joined by the fabulous Mary Rombaut. Mary, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. I am Mary Rombaut, the CEO of R Squared Solutions and Recommenda. R Squared Solutions is a marketing agency specializing in fractional CMO and marketing strategy. And Recommenda is my AI app that recommends for free marketing technology that you are shopping for. So if you have any questions on what type of marketing tech you should be using, Recommenda will tell you. It is a free tool. Mm-hmm. So excited to be here today, closing out our Vision, Voice, and Velocity series with our thought leadership focus. Lots to share, lots of thoughts on this, particularly in the age of AI.
Yes, I was going to actually start with hey, let's talk about AI for a second, folks, because hey, we would be remiss in 2025 to not talk about AI. And the world is a messy place right now. There's this, everybody's trying to use AI, but nobody's doing it well. Or maybe we're all using hyphens wrong, it turns out now. Who knew? Should we be capitalizing? Or there's all these things, there's all these signals. There's this criticism that there's too much content out there. So what do you do as a CEO who is trying to be the thought leader, who's trying to make a name for herself, who's trying to get her company to kick ass? What do you do in this age of AI? So let's start there. Mary, tell us what's the era we're in, and what's going on?
We so much content, right? This is AI has helped us with being faster, more efficient, all of these great things, but it's also created so much noise.
Yes.
So much noise. And your job as the CEO is to rise above that noise with your content and understand that your content should be doing one thing well, influencing your target market. That's what you want to do. And how do you do that with content? It's about clarity, credibility, and consistency, not volume. And this is where a lot of companies and CEOs are going wrong. They think, okay, I can use AI and my volume can, just like everybody else, can increase. I am challenging my clients to think about it as less is more. Quality content now. Quality content has always reigned supreme, but now more than ever, that is what I want everybody to double down on. Quality.
There's a thing I would add to that, which I think is part of what makes quality. I'd actually like to know your perspective on this, Mary, but I think one of the things that a CEO needs to do, which AI can't do for you, well, it can if you train it really, really well, you put the effort in, but it can't easily do it. The thing I think companies need to do, or the CEO needs to be doing front and center, is give their opinion and give their perspective. Not just 3 steps to, not just here's how we solve this problem. I want people to be opinionated. You don't have to please everybody. In fact, you don't want to please everybody. You want to appeal to people who like the way you think. I think we're so afraid right now of being opinionated because the world is quite toxic. Let's just get that out there. To me, that credibility, that high quality piece stems from giving a perspective kindly. I don't think we should be assholes about it. Excuse my language.
Right.
But would you agree with that, Mary?
I totally agree with you. I think it's about demonstrating how you as a leader think and how do you lead. If your content as the CEO demonstrates how you think, how you lead in a way that's consistent with the brand and the objectives, the marketing objectives of your brand, that is going to rise above.
Yeah.
What is it that makes you unique you unique? And I know we've talked about this in previous episodes, but the CEO, all of us as leaders have the zone of genius. And I want your content as CEO to demonstrate your zone of genius. And I think for those that are joining that haven't had the previous episodes, Toni, could you take a second just to talk about zone of genius? Because I love it. I love when you do. And I think it's important to this conversation.
It's so important. You're right. And it's something I truly believe that we all need to get better at diagnosing whatever stage of career business we're at is our zone of genius, because we do our best work there. So I don't think I've broken this down fully before. So let's just take a moment. There are 4 zones of operation. They are to do with competence and enjoyment. So how good you are at it and how much you enjoy it. Now, the bottom left, if you put it on XY axis, is your zone of drudgery. You have low competence and you do not love it. That's finances to me, accounting.
Yeah.
You can drag it out of me, but it's horrendous, right? I always use that example because it's just like the thing I loathe in my business. But as a CEO, you got to do some of it because you got to at least sign off the books, right? So your zone of drudgery, low competence, low enjoyment. Your zone of learning is really, really important. That is low competence, but high enjoyment. It is, that's shiny. Let me. Now, the danger here is shiny object syndrome, which we all know. And I think as a CEO, this is something to really watch out for. If shiny object syndrome pivots a business too rapidly, it's like, oh, this is the thing we should be doing to fix this thing. And it's a shiny object. It isn't well thought through. But equally, as an individual, we do need to spend 10% or 10 to 20 maximum. I aim for 15% of our time in this zone of learning, because it is your future zone of genius. If you're learning 10 things today, 1 or 2 of them are going to be zone of genius later on. Zone of excellence is the next one. This is high competence, but medium to low enjoyment. And a lot of people think zone of genius and zone of excellence are the same thing, and they're not. They're different. This is so, so important. Zone of excellence probably used to be your old zone of genius. You used to love it. It used to ooze out of you. It's maybe got you to where you are today. But you've kind of fallen out of love with it a little bit, but people keep giving it to you, or people keep buying your products because it's what you're known for. But you're going to burn out if you do too much there. And as a CEO, that is so important. As your zone of excellence, your zone of genius becomes your zone of excellence, you need to delegate it. You need to delegate your zone of excellence, because otherwise you will burn out, because it causes stress, because it's misaligned, because you're good at it, but you don't love it. Zone of genius, this is where we want to be. This is what we want to be a thought leader in. This is where we want to have opinions. This is where we have high enjoyment and high competence. I was describing this to a client this morning, and I said to her, this is the stuff that on the days when you're like, I'm a bit sick, I don't really want to work today, I'd just love to stay in bed and have a duvet day, but I can't. You do it and you feel better afterwards. You might still feel really ill, but there's some part of it that just kind of, it flowed. You might not have done your A game because you're sick, but it flowed. If it doesn't flow, it's not your zone of genius. So Mary, now I've explained that, how does that tie into thought leadership, do you think?
So I see it as tying in, because that flow, that excitement that you get, that is going to come across in whatever type of thought leadership you are putting out into the world. I think a lot of times people hear thought leadership and they think it has to be blogs or books or, written content. But that's just not the case, right? And it could be your podcast, it could be YouTubing, it could be LinkedIn Lives like we're doing right now, right? There's all sorts of different thought leadership. And that's one of the things you want to make sure that you're enjoying the type of thought leadership you are investing time in, because it will show if it's not coming off as something you enjoy doing. So right there is a piece of this conversation, right? What is it that you enjoy putting out into the world? And then what is it that you want to be talking about? What is that authenticity to your leadership style and your vision for the company that you are leading, that you can talk about on your worst day, and it's going to be authentic and interesting. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the other thing here is to tie this into culture, because I think we kind of mentioned it in, we didn't use the word culture. I can't remember what word we used. We mentioned it in briefly before in passing. But I think the thought leadership. So say you sell a widget that goes into an airplane, right? Right? You sell a thing, and you're like, but I have really strong opinions about the culture of my company. You can be a thought leader there. There was a company, famous company now, a couple of years ago, where the CEO took a pay cut so he could pay everybody in his company a minimum, quite higher level salary. He became really famous for that, and his company took off. There's a whole conversation about like what actually happened, but he came in and said, we sell this thing, but right now what matters to me is culture. This thing, I believe culturally that this is how I want my company to operate. And he really stood out because of that. And okay, culture's one thing, but I think our thought leadership needs to reflect not just what we sell, but how we operate, how we think, how we solve problems, how we interact with the human race. It should be a reflection of our personalities, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think what you're touching on is very important of what you're telling your leadership and the employees at your company you believe in, what the company believes in. If your thought leadership is reflective of that, that means so much to your employees that you are speaking and delivering consistently between, the operation side of things, as well as the front and center, marketing side, where people are seeing you. You're talking the talk and walking the walk. There should be consistency between your thought leadership and what you are telling in, your team internally. And, when we make marketing plans for the organization, I will always have a session with the CEO separately from the marketing team or the leadership team we're working at, to learn more about who they are specifically as a leader, to make sure there is that alignment between their own marketing plan and all of that and the company, because it's important that consistency exists and is often overlooked because we're focused on the company and not taking into account that synergy between the CEO and the company brand.
Yeah, 100%. I think actually this is a moment to let's talk about not doing it all yourself, but owning the right thing, right? Because I think this is really an opportunity to pick the thing that you as CEO should be doing, right? You should not be doing it all. We've covered that extensively over the last 2 weeks. But one of the key things is to realize what format are you going to be thought leadering in? Not just what content, but what format. Like as Mary said, podcasts, blogs, getting out in the media, TV interviews, YouTube, lives like this, whatever it is, like figure out how you want to show up. And that's the piece that you're then going to own. And I think this is where Mary really comes in, because sitting down and having that conversation, not just about the strategy behind your messaging, not just around what your team is going to be putting out there, but what you are going to be doing, what you are going to be putting out there, or at least in your name, even if you get somebody to help you. What's the piece that you as a CEO own? Mary, like if you had to talk somebody through how to make this decision, and I know you do whole strategy sessions on this. Can you give us like a whistle-stop tour of how somebody can decide, like what should they be asking themselves around, what should they be doing, what should they be owning, how do they figure out what to move forward with here?
Yeah, so at the very beginning, I would say asking yourself find 3 to 4 themes that connect your leadership voice to the business strategy. So what are, we look at the business strategy, and then what is it that you're passionate about personally within that leadership voice? For example, for me, marketing strategy is the thing. I truly believe it is inherent in my company. It's inherent in who I am as a speaker, that marketing strategy is the epicenter of everything that you should be doing to grow your business, period. Right? So that is authentic to me. It is the theme that you're going to see when I'm speaking on LinkedIn Live or I'm writing, all of those things. So what are those 3 to 4 themes that will be consistent across any type of thought leadership you put forward? Now, once you've got those figured out, we need to do research. We need to understand, who are the others in that space? How are they showing up? Where is the opportunity? Because maybe you're open to any type of thought leader. You're like, I love speaking. I love writing. I love all the things. Like, maybe you're all, you don't mind at all. Great. Those type of people, I'm saying, where's the greatest opportunity to get you visibility, right? And we're actually using some AI agents right now with our clients, where we are scanning their competitors' thought leadership to find out daily, what are they talking about? Where are they posting it? How are they talking about it? So that we can analyze it and find those gaps and opportunities. It's really cool, and it's real time. And that's just one example of how we can be using AI even to come up with topics and things. But I want to understand where your competitors are showing up, so that I can best position you to, first of all, be where the audience is. Because probably if you see consistency across competitors, there's a reason for that. And that's because the audience is there.
Yeah.
If you pick a form of thought leadership where your audience doesn't naturally gravitate, no one's going to see it. Right. And this is my e-commerce clients, this is very easy for them to understand, that different types of people go to different platforms. So we want to serve ads in those platforms, right? Like, it makes sense. If you are targeting a woman who's 40 in the United States, Instagram is a great place, right? Like, but maybe Nextdoor, not so much. This is the same in B2B thought leadership.
Yeah.
But we don't think about it that way. We don't say, where are my, well, everyone's on LinkedIn. No, not everyone's on LinkedIn. So I want to find that triangulation between the opportunity, what you're comfortable with, and where your audience is. And that is what is going to really propel your thought leadership, not quantity. It's that triangulation between you, your voice, where they are, all those things.
I would actually just add to that. You said, earlier on, you're like, oh, maybe you like doing all the things. I'm just going to give you all a coaching moment on this, or maybe a bit of a hard truth, which is, you might love doing all the things, but pick one and do it. Like, that whole thing of 10,000 hours to become excellent or something. I actually think there's a minimum number of hours to maintain excellence as well. And if you are trying to be on stage, be on podcasts, write blogs, getting in the media, because you enjoy it all. Let me just be hard and true with you here. You're not going to be the best you can be. You're not going to be the best of the best if you are doing it all. I would pick 1, maximum 2 forms of communication that you love, and work on excellence in those. You can layer other things on once you've got a well-oiled machine. Like, maybe you just like going and standing on stage. Great. Get to the point where you have 10 really polished talks. You're getting invited on a frequency that feels good. You're not putting in the legwork anymore, because it's just a machine that just works. Your team supports you. The industry supports you. You get consistent results. If you stand on stage, you're going to get 10 leads. If you stand on stage, your company is going to 2x this year. Whatever it is, get to the point where you just have a repeatable in, out, in, out, in, out. I do this, this happens. This happens. Applies to everything we do, by the way. Then you can add another one. It's a bit like advertising is the way I view it, right? The best thing with advertising is have a small pot of money, use it, assume you're going to lose it, and get it working. Only once you've got something working do you add another layer on, right? And the same applies with your energy. Your CEO energy is a limited and incredibly valuable resource. And you have to manage that energy until you know that if you put a small amount of energy in, it goes boom repeatedly. It is consistent. It's a dollar machine. You put this energy in, you get dollars out. Advertising, you put this many dollars in, you get this many out. Great. You don't get there overnight. Same is true with your energy. Mary, just before we move on from this, the pillars of our communication, I want people to hear a little bit more about how they need to understand the pillars that are going to resonate with their audience. You talked about looking at competitors. What else can they be doing to see, oh yeah, this is resonating? What should they be looking for? What signals?
That's a great question. I mean, I do think competitors are a great place, but I also think the internal reflection, again, going back to that authenticity, is even more important than the what your competitors are doing, because it really truly needs to be consistent with who you are as a leader and with the brand itself. And then obviously the data, right? Once you've put information out there, what are you seeing in terms of engagement and conversion? Vanity metrics versus conversion. This is something we talk about in marketing all of the time, right? We may look at the data from today's episode and see 100 women watched. Wonderful. I'm excited to have connected with 100 women. Like, great. Is the purpose of this particular LinkedIn Live for conversion? No, it's not. However, marketing overall, thought leadership overall, we do want to make sure is converting in some way, whatever that means to us. Is that a lead? Is that a speaking engagement? There's all sorts of different definitions of conversion, but I do like to look at the data and did I miss the mark? I've put out tons of thought content or thought leadership in my career where I missed the mark, or I failed to deliver it to the audience that I was intending. That often has actually been my bigger problem. Is it's hard to reach niche audiences, right? And understanding where they are and how to get to them can be harder than creating quality thought leadership.
100%.
That data. Find what can you learn from what you did to say, do I scale this? Do I try it differently? All of the things. Data is very important to this conversation.
Okay, so now we're getting it. We need pillars. We need to know where we're gonna, as CEOs, stand up and talk, or stand up and be heard in some format or other, whether it's written or verbal or whatever, right? But we've had this theme over the last 3 weeks of don't do it all yourself. So let's come back to that piece. And I hinted at this with, only add on a layer once, you conserve your energy and all this. Very much my jam is helping women CEOs show up as their best selves. And that means taking care of your energy first. So how do we decide to get support? When is that a good thing to do? When is it backfire? Like, what is it that we can delegate here?
You want a small visibility team within your most likely marketing team who will amplify but not replace your voice. So these are the systems that we create with our clients where we've done this foundational work for the CEO, and now we are able to help create the systems to scale it. Right. So there are pieces of thought leadership you have to do, right? Yourself as the leader. But I want that to take as little of your time as possible. Use myself as an example. I make 1 half a day, so 4 hours a month, I put in to thought leadership for my company. And then my team takes that 4 hours of effort and fills an entire month with it across my platforms. All right. So I trust them to do that. We've created systems where they can go do that, and then I can review where as appropriate. And it only takes 4 hours of my time a month, which is actually a lot. 4 hours of for a CEO is very expensive. It's a huge investment. So you want to be making sure that you are getting the most out of it, and planning is essential to that. So it November 1st, I usually do it at the first of the month. Right now we have next month's content all mapped out. So I can already be thinking about, what do I want to be talking about? What do I need to do in that 4 hours to get the most out of it? And then my team goes from there. So those systems are so important to this, such that you are making high quality content, a short amount of time, and then you trust your team to execute the delivery of it.
There are two things I just want to touch on there. One is about how does this work as we scale businesses? Like CEOs, at what scale are they always involved? I'm gonna answer that question in just a minute. But the first one I want to talk about is neurodivergence. Just very briefly, you mentioned systems there, and I just want to call out, I know a lot of us are neurodivergent. I think there are a lot of neurodivergent female CEOs. I don't know about other CEOs, but I happen to know a ton of neurodivergent CEOs, myself included. And I'm just going to say, systems is one of those things I think I rely on and then I ditch. I'm a big believer, like Mary, in having this stuff up front, but I also know that my systems sometimes break. One of the best ways you can support yourself is if you know you're that kind of person, have a team that does systems for you. And my team will be like, Toni, you need to give me this week. Or like, I have trained my team to give me a couple of days warning of like, they need something. It's in my calendar. I think I live by my calendar. I do when it comes to clients, less so when it's my work. But if my team asks me for it, if my team reminds me, I have hired a team that can cope with my idiosyncrasies. I have hired a coach that can deal with my idiosyncrasies. I work with Mary because she can deal with my idiosyncrasies. Get yourself surrounded by people who can work within your limitations. You are a limited human. You're a human. You will have limitations. Neurodivergence is one of them. It's an obvious one when it comes to systems. That's why I wanted to call it out. But actually it applies bigger than that. So be aware of your limitations and hire support. Bring in support that supports you in that. And we're going to come back to support in just a minute. The other thing, though, that I want to call out here is you might be thinking, well, 4 hours a month. I hear Mary saying it's a lot. Some of you might be thinking, oh, that's not very much. I do 20 hours a month in marketing. When does that stop? Let me let you into a secret. Fortune 500. I'm actually thinking of a particular Fortune 50 CEO as the person I'm kind of like using to understand this. They still spend time on thought leadership. It comes in a different format. They are getting on stage. They're standing in front of politicians. They're schmoozing. And so their thought leadership is around strategy most of the time, right? At that point, our CEO is brought into a Fortune 50 company to deliver a strategy, understand it, and deliver it. Their thought leadership becomes about that and the culture that they want to embed. They spend most of their marketing time, because they are very visible, so they are doing marketing work, in my opinion, speaking, schmoozing, politicizing, like whatever format it is. And so they are doing their own thought leadership. So in many respects, they're doing the same thing. They have a very well-oiled machine. They will have somebody writing their slide decks. They will have somebody taking the strategy and vision and saying, these are all the things we're going to generate from it, because it's a Fortune 50 company. But it still applies, even all the way up there. So believe me, you need to be doing it down here too. Some of you are going to be those unicorns, and I can't wait to be cheering you along. Just be patient, but know what you're doing now, it's still going to be going on when you're up there as a unicorn company. It's just going to change flavor slightly, but it's still going to be happening.
Right.
So Mary, let's talk about getting the right support, because I know that's the bit I'm very passionate about as an executive coach. As obviously, I think everybody should have coaches. I would say that. I also, one of the things I will often talk to CEOs about is, I know you don't feel ready to hire, but now's the time to hire. And I will also say, I think you hired that role too early. But you're also like finding the right talent, zones of genius, all that kind of stuff. So Mary, just talk us through. Okay, let's start with, when is the right time to bring in a CEO and when is the wrong time? Because I know that's your zone of genius. When would you bring in a fractional? Is it too early? When would you bring in a full-time? When is it too early? Like, talk us through that as a case study here.
Sure. So when I meet a CEO, this is our first introduction, and I'm gathering information, and I'm trying to understand what their actual needs are, right? Because sometimes I have that conversation and I'm like, you just need a strategy workshop with us to get started, right? You've got a strong CMO in place, perhaps. You've got a marketing team that has a lot of strength, but maybe they're executors and not strategists. So we come in, we'll help you with that strategy and help you stay accountable. Other times, they've never had a CMO before. They've had marketing leadership, and they do just need somebody 10 hours a week to be creating that high level vision with them and their team. So for me, it's about when I'm meeting with a CEO, I'm really processing who they are, where are they at, what are those limiters, and I'm trying to find, particularly for my team, who's the best fit for them, right? And I think this is central to this conversation of you need to find somebody that you can trust who complements you as a leader, and your strengths and your limitations. For example, I had someone on my marketing team once who, like, I need to be poked in order to not be the bottleneck, right? So I need a team member who understands that they can poke me a million times and I never react poorly, right? I need that. And this person just wouldn't do it. They just were not capable of being that. I think culturally was part of it, perhaps. And I was like, this isn't going to work in this role for you. We need to find a different position within the organization because I need that poking because I've got just too much on my plate. And I need you to say,
it's so common with CEOs. I think if you're listening to this and thinking, yeah, that's me, or you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I wonder, I'm yet to meet a CEO who has a team who doesn't at some point go, God, they just need to nag me. Yeah, like we have so much that we hold, right? Which comes down to this getting help at the right time.
Right. So when I'm working with CEOs, male or female, doesn't matter. I need to understand them as a leader, as a person. And that's how I will build a marketing strategy to support them, which is why, you need to have multiple offers, right, within your organization, because we need to have that flexibility to meet people where they are with their marketing. But building that trust. If you talked about trust in every one of these sessions, Toni, right? And if you have broken marketing systems, I need you to say, where's the trust breakdown? Where's the skill breakdown and where's the trust breakdown? Because as a CEO, I've seen it time and time again where they can't let go. There's a reason. Maybe they've been burned before. So maybe they've got the right talent, but they've been burned so many times, they haven't figured out how to trust that talent. And sometimes my job is to help work through that relationship and build that trust. Systems help. If you have systems that you feel good in, that are documented, that really does solve so many problems in terms of helping your team execute on your behalf.
And just on a note, AI can help you write SOPs. Like that's something you should be delegating to AI, is get it to help you with SOPs. That is not something that should take as much time anymore. I want to call out here a little bit around Zone of Genius as a way of helping you decide what to hire and when. So if you take my journey, the first person I hired was an accountant, because guess what? Finances are my zone of drudgery. I didn't want to learn all the tax laws and it's a minefield. So the first person I hired was a fractional accountant. She is still on my team, right? The second person I hired was a web designer because I knew I needed a website. And here's the interesting thing. I held on to the technical stuff on my website for years and years and years. Because technically, I mean, that stuff doesn't freak me out. I have a software engineering background. That was easy. But I was like, I have no design capabilities. Like I didn't get those genes. They just missed. They went flying on by. So I hired a designer very early on. I was very frugal around it, but I hired a designer early on. So I hired in areas where I had zone of drudgery, just incompetence going on. Those were the first hires. Now, later on, I had to let go of the technical work because you can spend hours fixing a website. I was like, I've got a job to do. I'm the one that makes the money in the business. I'm, at the end of the day, I'm a coach. So my time really is literally money. So there comes a point where you have to let go. I left it too late, which brings me to my second point. Surround yourself with peers who are at your level or above. I have always been in masterminds. I've always had a coach. I've always been in masterminds. I leave masterminds when I realize I'm in the top 25% of the women in there. I always join women masterminds because because I can. You need to be challenged by the people you hang out with.
Yeah.
You need people around you who are like, oh yeah, you should go for that, rather than, oh my God, you're doing that. That's intimidating. I would literally have people lean back. They'd either be like, oh my God, that's so amazing, but offer no concrete, yeah, you've got this. It was just like, oh my God, that's just incredible. Or they would be sufficiently intimidated by me that you could just see them kind of, what? Surround yourself with the people either that are at your level, ideally beyond your level. And I think that also applies to your team. I was talking to one of my executive clients earlier, and she was like, I can't put this person through for an interview because I think they're more qualified than me. And I was like, if you had those skills in the person under you, how would that make you level up? And she was like, oh, hire people who are brilliant. Bring in fractional experts who are brilliant, because they will make you level up faster. Pay for an hour of a fractional person. That will push your company far faster than a full-time employee, especially in the age of AI, where a lot of the full-time stuff lower down in your business, honestly, can be done differently. Hire the expert who is going to make that particular part of your business run on, I hate to say it, but steroids.
Yeah.
Mary, what would you say to all that?
Right?
Yeah.
It's about challenging. I think Toni is my executive coach, so I will be honest about that. This is me. I do not like to go into conversations where I ask for feedback and everybody's just like, yeah, that's great. We love it. I love critical feedback. That is just who I am as a person, because I think it makes me better. It makes everything better. And that's part of our model at R2 Solutions. Our CMOs all work together. We collaborate across clients because we learn from each other. That the AI strategy I was talking about earlier, I got that from one of my CMOs on my team who was talking about it. And I was like, that's brilliant. I want to do that for my clients. So that you want people in your life that are leveling you up and challenging you and maybe telling you that marketing idea is not good. Like, why, not a good idea. And you need to have, again, trust that perhaps they could be right, that you could be wrong, that you need to do things differently, and be okay with that.
Yeah. 100%. I know we're at time, and this is our last session. We may well be back, people. We actually love to know in the comments, wherever you're watching this, if you want more, let us know. We're going to take a break because we need a break. Mary and I, we're both very committed ladies, maybe overcommitted. So we're going to take a break, but we would love to know if you want more, what topics you want us to cover. This is a passion point for both Mary and I, as you can probably tell. So we would love to hear from you. But in the meantime, let us just finish up with how to get more support. So to start off with me, if you are looking to level up your business and take your CEO self to that next level, I would love to have a conversation. I offer a free strategy session. I offer a couple every month. So if you would like a free strategy session to discuss your business with an executive coach who is going to, Mary will tell you, drink from a fire hose if you work with me. I push. I hold and I push. Like, I am not someone who takes things easy. Like, I'm like, let's go. Let's make you like the best version of yourself. If you'd like to have that conversation, no obligation, drop me the word strategy on LinkedIn in a DM, and I will get back to you. And we'll see what we can do. Mary, how can people find out more about you? And because here's the thing, you've helped me so much. So how can people find out what you do?
Yeah, great. So reach out to me on LinkedIn, same thing. Just shoot me a message and we can get a strategy session, again, complimentary, to talk about your business, your goals. And you can also email me at mary@r2solutions.llc.com. Because I do the same thing as Toni. I have several, especially for women entrepreneurs. I will always make time for you. So shoot me a message and we can talk strategy and getting you to the next level.
Mary, any final thoughts you want to leave us with today before we wrap up?
Oh my goodness, I have so many thoughts, but I think I want to thank everybody who has attended these sessions. I hope you've taken, a lot from them. But I want to leave you with the thought that you are not alone. Being a woman CEO feels lonely a lot of the time. One of the reasons I have a coach, because I do
Yeah.
feel a lot less alone with
Yeah.
Toni on my team. But learning yourself, trusting, learning from the mistakes, because we all make them every day. I'm making mistakes, learning from them and being better. That's what it's all about. And, I'm excited that we were a small part of your journey today. How about you, Toni?
Oh, that is a beautiful way to end. I tell you what, I'm going to revisit something that I think is incredibly important. Understand your true zone of genius. That is what is going to unlock everything in your business. So yes, it's lonely at the top. Yes, surround yourself with the right people, all the things that Mary said. But my little parting shot, if you don't know your zone of genius, that's your number one priority moving forward. And you know what? There's an amazing group of women out there ready to be with you along the way. So no, you're not alone. We will be back, I think, in some form or other. We would love to hear from you if you would like us back, and what topics would you like to hear. But until then, Mary and I are cheering you on. We wish you the best of luck in your CEO journey. And we know that some of you, at least, are going to go unicorn, and the rest of you, we know you're going to change the world. So until next time, bye for now.